Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at a new Cascoon card. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking at Cascoon. It's a stage 1, an evolving stage 1. That must mean it has some little tricks. Now, this is another one of those I translated with Google Translate and then went and asked David. This one was not quite so easy, to be perfectly honest with you, but I think we got there in the end. So, what it does, it's water duplicates. Except, well, you've got this whole Cascoon, Silcoon, Dustox, Beautifly thing going on here. And what it does is it allows you to search your deck for up to 4 Cascoon or Silcoon and put them onto your bench, which of course actually makes it better than Froggedier's water duplicates, or indeed the Kakuna, which had pretty much the same attack, because they could only get 3, because of course you could only have a total of 4 in your deck, and one of them had to be used for using water duplicates, or whatever Kakuna's attack was called. I'll remember in a minute, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, look, it's on the screen. Just read it. Just read it. This can actually get you 4, and it does specify 4 here. So, essentially, you've got this one, and you can get 4 others. Now, in terms of the Google translation, it says, put a total of 4 sheets of Karasura, or Meirudo. Now, I know they're not the proper Japanese names, but this is listed as Meirudo when you Google Translate. And when you know this is Meirudo, it does not take a genius to figure out that Karasurusa is Silcoon. And then you start thinking it's basically water duplicates, and then you ask David, and David's like, yeah, it is, Ross. It is. So, is this actually any good? Well, I suppose the answer is, do we have any Beautifly or any Dustox at the moment that really wants to take advantage of this? Because as it is, right, it's got 70 HP, which is pretty low. It's got a retreat cost of 2, which is pretty bad. And it's got a weakness to fire. Now, the one thing I will say is, the new Moltres does 30 damage while accelerating energy. So I will say that when you double that with weakness, it goes up to 60. And this will actually survive a hit from Moltres. So that is the one nice thing that I can say about this. As a whole, it's not a particularly exciting card. But then again, Froggedier was not a particularly exciting card, and yet that has been centered to one of the best decks in the format for a very long time. What's the difference? Well, very simply, the difference is that one had Greninja. And when you combined the Greninja from Breakpoint, which had Shadow Stitching to block abilities, free retreat, and then could evolve up into Greninja Break with the great Giant Water Shuriken ability, dropping 6 damage counters when you discarded water energy from your hand, all of a sudden here, you were left with a really good deck. And it wasn't because of Froggedier. It was a good deck because you had everything you needed in terms of Greninja. Froggedier just gave it that engine that it needed in order to be consistent. So, do we have any Dustox and Beautifly at the moment? Well, we'll start off looking at the Dustox from this particular set, because it's good. It's really quite good. What it does is when you evolve up, we did do a video about this, I'll pop a link in the description. When you evolve up into Dustox, you can use this ability, and you get automatic paralysis, automatic poison, and it puts 3 damage counters on between turns, rather than 1 for poison. And then, of course, in the standard format, you can use the Viper to increase that. And if you go into expanded, you can use Burbank City Gym. So this is a nice ability. And the problem is, it's hard to get it rolling turn after turn after turn. Well, the great news here is, all you need to do, and this is 1 colourless energy, right, for Cascoon, so you don't need to worry about what deck you're playing it in. It's a stage 1, it's a colourless energy, you can pop it into any deck you like. And then you could search for 3 other Cascoon and maybe some Silcoon, we'll get to it. And then you've got a bunch of Cascoon sitting on the bench, hopefully 4 if your opponent doesn't take a KO, probably 3 because they do. And then what you do is you evolve up into Dustox next turn, you get paralysis and poison. Hopefully your opponent isn't able to attack, they pass back to you. And you evolve up into Dustox, and they get paralysis and poison, and this gives you 3 or 4 consecutive turns of paralysis plus treble poison. Now, I made the point in the Dustox video that with Escape Board likely to see a lot of play post-rotation. Pretty much, well, not pretty much, everyone playing Guzma and a bunch of people playing Ace Roller, there is a strong argument that paralysis is not as good as it used to be, because there's too many ways around it now. I wouldn't be terribly upset if you chose to take that argument, but the point is, you can get the paralysis and poison every turn. So that's quite nice. But in the standard format, that's where it stops. This is going to be the only standard legal Dustox. I mean, it already is, which is weird, right? There isn't one in the format at the moment. They've all rotated out. As for Beautifly, they've also rotated out. Now, weirdly enough, and it's not that weird, it makes perfect sense, generally speaking, we tend to get Dustox and Beautifly in the same set. They are very much a pair. They both end up evolving from Wurmple. This is nice. And actually, giant side note here, generally speaking, you would only be able to have 4 Wurmple. So even though you could play 4 Cascoon and 4 Silcoon, you wouldn't actually be able to get them all in play at once because you're only allowed 4 Wurmple. This you actually can, because you essentially get 1 from this Wurmple, the first one, then you put 4 on the bench with this ability, or this attack, then you still got 3 Wurmple left. So between the 4 you get from the attack and the 4 Wurmple, you can actually get all 8 out at once, 4 Silcoon and 4 Cascoon. But we don't have any legal Beautifly right now. There is no Beautifly that is in the standard format at the moment. And I'm checking limitlesstcg.com/translations, which has all of the unreleased cards at the moment, and there's no Beautifly or Dustox that we're waiting for. They're not coming out anytime soon. And in this set, in Sun and Moon 7A in Japan, there is no Beautifly. Now, Sun and Moon 7A is going to be part of our Sun and Moon 8 set in November, so it may well be that in Japan Sun and Moon 8 there is a Beautifly, so when it's released over here, we do actually have both of them in the same set. But as it is at the moment, we've got this Dustox, which admittedly looks great, but only for the ability. And that's literally it. There is nothing else we've got. That's the only Dustox that's going to be legal. There is no Beautifly. I imagine we're going to get a Silcoon and a Beautifly in Sun and Moon 8 in Japan, which will be in our Sun and Moon 8 over here, which is going to be the same as Thunderclap Spark. They're going to be mashed together, and then we can. Because in Standard at the moment, you cannot search for 4 Cascoon or Silcoon. You can search for 3 Cascoon. There is no Silcoon. Now, in the expanded format, we got a few more options. We got the Dustox from Roaring Skies, which is not particularly good. Double colourless energy, 30 damage plus confusion. Or 2 grass, 2 colourless, 80 damage, sleep and poison. It's too expensive, doesn't do enough damage. Then we've got the one with Ancient Trait Delta Plus, which says you can take 1 more prize card. And this one's a little bit exciting. 20 damage for a grass energy isn't great, but you add a choice band, it does 50. If you're hitting for weakness against something like a Lycanroc, it does 100, and you're taking a second or a third prize, an extra prize. That sounds pretty nice. Or grass double colourless, 50 damage to a bench Pokemon. If it did 60, you could KO an evolving basic for 2 prizes. But in expanded, you could take 2 prizes off a Joltik, which sounds pretty good. And then we got the one from Dragons Exalted, 1 Psychic Energy, Sleep, Burn, and Poison. Or Psychic Double Colourless, 50 damage, flip a coin, if heads, it does 30 more damage. It's not particularly good. And in terms of Beautifly, we got the one from Roaring Skies with Miraculous Scales, which makes it immune to EXs. Annoyingly, this has not been errata to make it immune to GXs. If it had been, it would be great, but it hasn't. Boo, hiss, etc. Also, the artwork here would really be ripe for an extended card. Just putting that out there. And then grass double colourless, 80 damage, and you can make your opponent switch. Is too expensive. And then we got the one from Dragons Exalted. 1 grass energy, search for 3 different types of basic energy, and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. And it doesn't have to be grass. And then grass double colourless, heal 40 from each of your bench Pokemon. This Beautifly is really nice for triple energy, for energy acceleration. And the Ancient Trait Dustox is really nice because you can take an extra prize although the attacks aren't great, but that's, they had to do that because you took an extra prize. Outside of that, even in Expanded, there ain't that many right pickings here. I'm expecting a Beautifly in Sun and Moon 8, which is really going to determine whether this Cascoon could be great or not. And look, after having Frogadier and Kakuna, I am all in favour of these water duplicates attacks. But as it stands at the moment, this does not have much potential. I'm giving it 3 Wassies, because the Dustox with the ability in this set is great. And if we ever get a really good Dustox or Beautifly, or hopefully both, this will become a great card. As it is at the moment, just doesn't have the partners. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to know from you guys, so let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this? Do you think it's good? Do you love any of these Dustox or Beautifly? Let me know. Go nuts. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves. Until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.